Shane, there is no intro music on Manic and Chill. We are back. First time the two of us together on this show. It's been 3 weeks, but it is the start of training camp. I am pumped up to be back on the mic with you. July 23rd, 2025, the first week of training camp. You are already going insane with just annoying messages and tweets and rants that you were going at me with before we got started. But what's good, my friend?
I think if you follow me on Twitter, I know Slashy does because he commented back. But like I literally, it was like, calm the F down. It's the first effing practice. It's just bananas. Just all the tweets. Tucker Kraft is returning kicks. Pierre Strong's the starting running back. Kenny Pickett's the starting quarterback. Just it's going to be a long training camp. That's all. But no, man, look, football's back. It's like the first time a 13-year-old boy saw a boob, right? Like we're so excited. We want to tell everyone. And that's kind of like what's going on right now.
Yeah. And it's a new era. I think I'm finally realizing that we've talked about it for years, the changing landscape of the Dynasty game. But you truly are starting to get a glimpse of how different it is today. And so I want to talk about that to start the show. I mean, we can get to Judkins, we can get to Rasheed Rice, we can get to Elijah Arroyo, JJ McCarthy. I have some other players I want to pick your brains on. We'll go through some trades as well. But I just want to talk through just the theory of being able to use the next 6 weeks to your advantage. Because I think before it used to be if you got the news, you might have gotten news of a highlight or a player's role growing or something, right? Something that we would see regularly now if you're just scrolling X or you're in a Discord, like you're seeing this daily. So you start to become immune to it, right?
Yeah.
But I think it makes the needle that needs to be moved a lot more to actually get something done. You know what I mean? It's not just a positive tweet. It's not just a podcast talking about a player. But to actually go out and execute a move or find an angle to work a trade or find an angle to shift your roster construction. Like, how do you view that today when it comes to some of these players that you know are going to get pumped up? I mean, I can give you some names right now that are getting steamed up in best ball, and it's very similar. If they're getting steamed up in best ball, then there is something that has happened, you know what I mean? To make people go, ooh, I want to start taking that guy a little bit higher. But like, how do you actually execute that? Elijah Arroyo is the perfect example. People liked him. He was a second-round pick. He was a decent prospect. But now there's like he's got more opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that what it takes for you to actually be able to like sell him now? Or because that's a pretty high bar, right? That was a higher-end prospect that goes from probably second or third to first or second on the depth chart. Like it took a player getting released for there to be any movement. So what does that look like going forward with all of these random players that are going to fire up here in the next 4 to 6 weeks?
So Arroyo, one of my more higher rostered players. I have him in something like 7 or 8 leagues. And I can count on my hand, if I had no fingers, how many trade offers I got for him up until Noah Fant was traded. Then Noah Fant gets traded, and immediately I get trade offers. Now, they're bad. They're terrible offers. Like someone offered me Rasheed Smith for him, which if I wasn't doing that, you know what I mean? Like if that wouldn't have made sense 3 weeks ago, let alone the day after Noah Fant got moved. But I think it definitely greases the wheels. But at least in that situation, there's a real news item that affected it, right? There's a real world thing, I should say, that affected it, that's causing that movement or that desire for people to trade for him. It's because Noah Fant's out of the picture, right? For whatever that's worth. I don't know where Noah Fant finished last year in scoring points per game. It couldn't have been great. It wasn't top 6. I know that, which is pretty much all I really care about. And he didn't have many spike weeks. All that said, I think there's the belief too, though, that even if Arroyo got the same amount of opportunity as Fant, he would be better with it, right? Because he's a more explosive player. But that's probably what it would take for him to actually produce at a level that people want him to produce at. So all that said, if you aren't particularly tied to Arroyo because he's a rookie tight end, and you know that rookie tight ends are folly. Maybe you do try to move him, right? What can I add to him to go get a player that I feel better about? And it's probably not at the tight end position, but maybe the tight end position. Like, could I, and I haven't looked at KTC, could I trick someone into giving me David Njoku and a 3rd round pick for Arroyo? Something like that. Like that would make me, because I love Njoku. So I'm always going to pull out Njoku because he gives me those spike weeks and I'll live with his down weeks, when that's probably a best case scenario for Arroyo. Not this year, just in general.
So is that the strategy when you have one of these players that rises into, I'm trying to think of a good term because there's a couple other examples of players that I'll give you the names and you'll go, well, even though they're rising, what hasn't changed is their demand for somebody to want to go in a trade for them. Arroyo had that because he was already a rookie that was a 2nd round pick that people saw somewhat of a path, just not a clear path, right? So now that there's a more of a clear path, there's demand for him. The demand for him on the market changes, which is why you're not getting better offers, but you're getting offers in general.
Right.
So is the takeaway to take players like that fit into that bucket? Dylan Sampson's another one that you probably didn't put him in a tier with starting running backs, but you can probably now go get a starting running back-ish if you're willing to trade Dylan Sampson plus. Is that the way to do it? Take the plus, add it to the player, and just go try to get something more stable, or what? Because it feels like that's the way to move versus if you're trying to, like when I give you some other examples, you'll go, there's no way somebody would accept that trade. But if you tried to go and trade Arroyo for Harold Fannin in a second, well, Arroyo over Fannin probably right now, given everything we know, but you're still trying to get the extra piece on your side. So it depends on how that other person views each player. You know what I mean? Because they're having to add the plus. Feels like it's actually easier to get the deal done if you add the plus, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the plus can be something inconsequential. I think that's how you say that, right? Not unconsequential, inconsequential. Sure, whatever. It's one of those words. The plus can be something as simple as a 3rd. Literally something as simple as a 3rd, right? Because it makes people feel better. A 4th, because it makes people feel better. I think this is what Jock's talking about, right? But you could also do that where you go, all right, let me get out on this player, and we'll talk about another player later. But like, can I get out for him? If I am going to get out for him, is it enough just to get back what I spent and a 3rd? Is that enough to make you want to move off of that player? I'm just looking at the KTC rankings for Arroyo over the past week. Not even a full week, right? No, not even a full week. My dude has jumped from the tight end 25 to the tight end 18 in KTC. So what that tells me, you know what? Knowing the camp news cycle, Twitter cycle, maybe I hold on to him for another week after he makes a big play or two during practices and see how his value spikes.
Yeah, he is the 3rd highest mover in underdog this week as well. So people are obviously seeing this as he's going to get more opportunity. But what's interesting is where that demand curve doesn't change, because I'm going to give you some other players right now that are also big movers on underdog. And you tell me if their demand in terms of, and I know we're talking dynasty, so there's a different level of evaluation than just what a player can do this upcoming year, right? But Hollywood Brown or Quentin Johnston, both of them have gotten big bumps. Now you may go, well, why? And it was as simple as Rasheed Rice might miss more games than we thought, and Mike Williams retired. In the grand scheme of things, those are 2 players that their roles are probably not changing much based on those 2 pieces of news. From a dynasty perspective, even in like a deeper start 12 type of league where you could justify one of those guys being in your last starting spot, right? Especially if you had a stack or something like that. But is there actually a transaction that can be made involving players like that? Or does it have to be a player that already had some youth appeal, some sexiness because they're a rookie or a trending upward player? Because it feels like a lot of this news is going to have a cascade effect on other players, but then you're going to go out there and go, man, I'm going to try to sell high, or even just not even sell high, sell. And you still can't. Like we were talking in voice chat earlier. If you're not in there, ddfantasyfootball.com, join the Discord. Joe Mixon going on PUP, right? And James Conner getting a lot of pump out there in the fantasy space. A lot of people going, man, he could be a top 5 running back this year. Like a lot of steam upwards for James Conner. He's basically flipped Joe Mixon from where they were 2 months ago. And then the thought was like, can you actually go and transact between those two and get a plus on the Mixon side right now? Is that possible? Like, does that kind of deal exist? Does the demand change? Or when somebody looks at those two players, they both see old ass running backs that are week to week, and they have a very specific purpose on their team. Like, there is no real preference this early. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I don't think there is, because we are always looking for that, right? We're always looking for that. Who can I move? Like, basically, how can I move the same guy, get the same guy, and get anything back? Maybe you could do that with Mixon now because he's on the NFI, non-football injury thing, but there's no other information to it, right? So I'm not overly concerned, but sure, you could probably move Mixon now for Connor and a third. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Well, it would have to be Mixon and a third for Connor.
Sure.
You're willing to take because basically neither of them have any value except for when they're playing.
Right.
So you're basically just betting on one playing and the other not, if you're doing that deal. But that's where it feels like with those types of players, and definitely with Hollywood Brown or Quentin Johnston, there can be the most favorable news possible. But there's no demand.
I will say this, man, Quentin Johnston, and that dude's still got some love, man. He's still got some love. We've got some people.
I get that, but is there a transaction to be made? Or is it just, if I have him on a roster, I feel 5% better than I did a week ago? But that's it. I can't do anything with that information, though.
No, there's not much to do with that, man. Like I said, there's people in our chat and our DD chat, specifically our Manic and Chill chat, that are like hyping up Quentin Johnston. Did he have a nice catch today or something? Maybe. I don't know. I know he dropped a couple passes in the first day of camp or whatever. Was that last week? But yeah, no, there's not much Quentin Johnston can do to increase his desirability on the market. I mean, there's just not.
Well, and that is a fascinating thought, because those are the types of players that if you really kind of think about what is their place, there are rosters everywhere. Everybody in this chat has rosters where they have players littered on those teams that fit that QJ bill, right? Where there's almost nothing they can do for them to have any demand. So you have to question, like, where does a guy like that fit on your team? And there's more players like that than we want to believe. You know, like Romeo Dobbs, that type of player fits the same mold, right? Like, you know, he's okay, but where does he fit on your roster? And what is the purpose of having him? And if there's no chance for any demand to increase, then why do you even have those guys, Shane? Like, what are you holding them for? Is it just, I had them and I've been too lazy to do anything with them? Or I'm curious the psychology, because we do that a lot where we'll hold these players. Rashad Bateman's another one. There isn't really a purpose for them unless I plan on using them in some capacity. You know what I mean? But we know there's not going to be any demand change. So what do you do?
Well, so there's a level, right? There's levels of these players.
Well, those types of players I'm talking about. They can be running backs. They can be receivers. They can be tight ends.
Even that, though, I can tell myself a story where Dobbs is useful this year.
Same with every guy I just mentioned: Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, Quentin Johnston.
And that's what I'm saying.
They're all like wide receiver 50 to 80, but none of them probably ever have a chance to go that much higher than that.
Right. No, probably not. But what you're hoping, if you own QJ, right? If you own QJ, roster QJ, excuse me, you're hoping that he can just give you some spike weeks and maybe a wide receiver 3 season like that. That's all you're really hoping.
But you're in a start 11 and he has 4 spike weeks and you never used him one time in those weeks because you have 7 receivers better than him, Shane.
Well, then guess what? Now you just need to move him for a running back.
But that's what I'm trying to get you to get to, is like, you have to look at your teams where you have these guys and go, it's put up or shut up time. If I have Quentin Johnston in my start 12 league, he shouldn't be my wide receiver 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He either needs to be in my lineup and I just bet that he delivers, like you said, maybe his high end range of outcomes is a top 36 season. But if I'm not capturing that, and I'm not speaking towards like best ball dynasty here, that's a different animal. But if you're not capturing that, what is the point of having these players? I mean, hell, I'm not going to pull up my portfolio because I do want to talk about Judkins and some trades with, him. But I'm looking at just my receiver rostership right now. And like, I do have some best ball mixed in here, but dude, I have a bunch of receivers that kind of fit in this range. And it's like, why do I have them? Why do I have 10% Rasheed Bateman, Shane? Why do I have 8% Josh Palmer?
Because you're not going to like this answer. You're not going to like it because you
What
have to have
is it?
someone on your roster. You have to have somebody on your roster.
Okay.
But
wouldn't I rather get anything for those guys and then pick up something else for free? It's not an instead. It's what else can I do when I'm basically what you're saying is that these guys are worthless because the only reason I have them is because I have to have something.
Well, no,
wouldn't I want to get something for them and pick up something else?
100%. But go out there and try to trade Dobbs. Like, what do you think you're getting for him?
It has to be the.
Well, you said anything. You said anything.
Microist of edges. It's 2 fab and 1 slot in the 4th round next year, something like that. I don't know.
2 fab. Give me that $2 fab and a $10,000 fab limit. No, I mean, I get your point, right? So you could grind the edges, and you should grind edges. So you're not starting these guys, right? And there's no world you'd ever start these guys is what we're talking about, right? And we're not talking about, I just see Austin Michaels. We're not talking about like a start 12.
Even in a start 11, a start 12. Understanding like the war curves on receivers, you could justify a guy like QJ is very similar to somebody like Darnell Mooney. You know what I mean? But yet some people would go, I feel more comfortable with starting Darnell Mooney as my last flex than I would QJ. But really, that range of receiver, they're very much tied to the offense, the quarterback, etc. But I think it's the idea that not every team that I would go in and even look, okay, where do I have these 5 shares of Rasheed Bateman? They better be on teams that are start 12 and I have Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? If they're not, then they fit the category of why are they on my roster? And there's many other players I could name that are in that same range. But it's just, you can find a way you squeeze them in, but you have to thin out your roster to get them into that spot.
I'll say this, though. Any start 12 leagues are almost excluded from this conversation because you're rostering absolutely anyone that could score a point, any season. Just you play in start 12 leagues. You're starting. Some people are starting like Amadeus Zacchaeus. That's not his name, but they're starting that guy. However you pronounce his name correctly. You know,
the last name kind of right.
Some of the names.
Amadeo is definitely not his first name.
Amadeo. But you know, Mac Collins, right? Is that the wide receiver, the Buffalo?
Dude, you're in the absolute trash can range. This is a good comment from Squid.
It started 12, man.
He traded a 4-12 for Dobbs in a league where I have Love. If that's a start 12, start 13, okay, sure. Dobbs is probably in the range of starter. If that's a start 10, start 11, you could still make it work, but you have to make sure Dobbs is really close to your lineup. Do you know what I mean? If he's not, then you basically gave up the 4-12. Which we can look at ADP and go, who is the 4-12? It's not going to matter much. But the idea is you would rather just not have Dobbs in the first place.
Yeah, you're talking more from a perspective. It'd make more sense for me to have some liquid assets as opposed to this hard capital that doesn't really hold a lot of value.
Correct.
Right. And I'm of the mind, I'm more practical, I think. You are a dreamer and I am a pessimist. So I go, well, look at those dudes on the waiver wire. They're just as much trash as this guy. And if I can't move this guy for at least a third, sometimes I'll be willing to take a 4th. Like, is it really worth it? Is it worth it for me to trade all these rando wide receivers for 4th round draft picks? Because you know what happens a lot of time. Because you'll lament this in 3 months ago. What were you lamenting? I have too many 3rds and 4ths. Because I traded for him and I wasn't able to use him in season.
This is the grind cycle, though, because yes, that's true. Why do I have all these 3rds? Why do I have all these 4ths? I don't want to make all these picks. But we're literally walking through the argument of receivers in this range typically have what? What has this whole conversation been about? No demand, right? It doesn't matter what they do. Nobody will ever go, man, I really got to go get me some Rasheed Bateman shares. But you know what could have some demand? Random rookie that you've never heard of that has a good preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where you take advantage of this window. Back to the Arroyo thing. Like, whether you can act on that is a different story. I think it's going to be tougher and tougher now to have a flash in the preseason and action. I mean, you remember 5 years ago, if a player who was a random receiver, think like, I'm trying to think of one from this year that would fit the bill. You could probably say Keandre Lambert-Smith's a good one, but Torrey Horton, somebody like that, right? They have a big preseason game and they're getting buzz in a camp. You could spam and get a third. You know what I mean? You'd be able to get a third from somebody. I'm not sure you'll necessarily be able to do that. So it remains to be seen if things are different in 2025. I want to talk about Judkins. So I have some Judkins trades, but I just want to get your thoughts, Shane, on we have no clue what's going to happen with this situation. I think there's a wide range of outcomes. I know Mitch and John talked about this a little bit on their show, but where are you at with him? Are you trying to move off of him? Is because we were talking about it earlier. Is he in that tier where he is above criticism from a talent perspective to say there's just no way I can move off of him for less than 80% what he was going for? Because if he's not, then he's just another running back. He's just another guy that he's fully based on opportunity. And you're going to miss the biggest window if he doesn't play a lot as a rookie or if this stuff lingers. The biggest window for him to have a huge value spike is going to be year one. You know what I mean? If he spiked, then he goes into next year with a big bump, but you're going to miss all of that. So what are you doing? I have some Judkins trades, but I want to get your take first.
I'm not dying to move him. I'm not dying to move him at all. Now, I'll say this. I'm okay with moving him if I can get a first back and another pick. If it's like a first and a second, and I'm not saying I will. I'm saying I'm okay with people that are doing that. Me, I was trying to use Judkins in deals that, like, could I find a way to and this is typical me. Can I finesse this somehow and then we'll get in a Travis Hunter somehow? Can I get Hunter out of this somehow? Can I get Breece Hall out of this, right? Like, I know it's like people are thinking it's a buy low window, and I'm like, absolutely not. Like, it made me more apt to maybe do something like that. Like, I did send out offers. I made one trade where I traded Judkins away with Diaz in one of our leagues, but the trade was too many pieces that it doesn't really fit the structure of this, where it's just a Judkins deal. I would prefer to buy. So I did send out offers for him in a couple leagues. They were rejected because I guess the people liked him as well. So I sent things like George Pickens. I think I sent Matthew Golden in a second. Matter of fact, I know I sent Matthew Golden in a second. I was sending out offers like that, and none of them got accepted. So from what I've seen, and I know there's a ton of trades in Dynasty Daddy, at least the leagues we're in, people are holding on them.
Yeah, I'm going to go through a couple trades just from the last 3 or 4 days just to kind of get a pulse. But there was some talk earlier today, like Scattaboo in a second. Would you take that or Judkins? See, and that's where we're going to be different. That's how we're going to play the position different. If I can get Travis Etienne in a second, Cam Scattaboo in a second, I'm selling Judkins. I'm okay doing. Give me the free second because I get the second piece that I can use somewhere else, and I'm treating him more like a placeholder running back than a guy that I cannot trade away, even if I'm wrong and he ends up being. Let me just put out there that he ends up being like Kenneth Walker. Where it's like a hit or miss rookie contract, but he's shown flashes of being really good. What did you really lose on if that's what you had? Do you know what I mean? And I think like that would probably be a good outcome for Judkins, don't you think? Getting close to his end of his rookie deal, and he's still a starter, still a guy valued as a top 15, top 20 running back like Walker is. Like, that would be a good outcome for Judkins, yet you look at what players like that are a couple years down the road. The only thing you missed on Kenneth Walker was a massive window where he was valued higher than that. That's it. But I think you could get deals done if you're willing to look at it like that. Like, I'm sending out Judkins for Scattaboo in a second, Jalen Warren in a second, Travis Etienne in a second. Like, I'll take that. And I'll just gamble that I have to have a roster where I'm set up to use those guys. You know what I mean? But I'm willing to do that. I think you can get some deals done, but I want to go through some of these deals. But any thoughts before we do it?
No, I was just going to say, obviously I have a higher opinion of Judkins than you. I think he could be a top 8 running back. And Scattaboo doesn't seem, he's not even in that universe for me. But here you go. Look, people are taking Golden over Judkins straight up. So guess what I'm doing? Another person taking Golden. So guess what I'm doing after this? You know what I'm doing.
Well, let's just go through it. Let's just say we did a 1.75 tight end premium. This is going to be off the cuff, Shane. Rookie draft right now. And let's just talk about a league where it's a decent enough buy-in that you're going to maybe be a little more conservative, or you just assume the room is going to be a little more conservative. Where are you taking Judkins? He's behind every rookie running back that was in the top 12 picks. You agree? He's behind Caleb, Harvey, Henderson, Genty, Hampton. Not even close. Agree? Is he behind Harvey and Caleb? Clearly for you.
Caleb? No, he's not clearly behind Caleb.
Okay, that's chat. What do you think? Caleb Johnson right now for Judkins. If you could trade Judkins for Caleb Johnson straight up, is that easy? For me, that's a smash because I think they were very close before. There's just no reason to gamble.
I might have made that deal. Yeah. Look, again, I get it. If you want to get off Judkins because you're scared, I get it. You know what I mean? I understand. You're afraid because clearly he is a person that makes poor decisions. And you want to get a guy that, like, maybe Caleb. RJ Harvey, he was part of the deal. So I'd say RJ Harvey has leapt Judkins. I'd be fine with Caleb.
Okay, but I was just trying to drill down the point that there's at least 5 other running backs in the class that are easily over Judkins. If you had
easily
to pick
is a strong ass word. Easily is Genty.
When I say easily, I mean if you had to pick and you're on the clock, who are you taking? I'm taking all 5 of those guys before I even sniff Judkins. And that's not even a player take because I wasn't like low on Judkins before, but I viewed them all very similar after probably Henderson. Like there's just no reason to take the risk when the margins are the difference between Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, and another guy that's maybe a tier lower. There's just that range is not worth taking on the potential of what could happen to Judkins this year. So anyway, let's move on. How many receivers in this class right now over Judkins?
How many receivers in this class?
Igbuka, Hunter, Tet. Easy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's 8 players. Any others? Right now, if you had to pick, I mean, the chat's saying Golden over Judkins. I know that's more of a player take, but
No, look, everybody in here is taking Golden, bro. Send the offers. You guys want that average-ass wide receiver instead of what could be Judkins could be. Cool. Like, no one liked Golden. Now all of a sudden everyone's blowing them in the chat. Okay. Like, all right, swallow all that golden juice you want. I'm not there. Sorry.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think there's even more potential over the next couple weeks if Judkins does not sign? There's no news on these charges. He's not in camp.
Like, this is just stupid at this point. And I love Diaz. He knows that. I absolutely love this guy. Judkins is just above Tootin and Scatterby.
I will give Diaz credit. He adjusts quick, dude. Like, I think we're catching Shane on some player takes here. But anyway, let's continue.
Yeah. I mean, there's obvious player biases here.
Over the next 3 weeks, do you think it's possible that one of the other rookie receivers, not even Golden, but I'm referring to Luther Burden, Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins.
Yes.
If one of them starts to get pumped, they're the wide receiver 2, clearly. Do you think one of those guys is above Judkins? You think so?
As far as the community, or you're talking about the community?
The community. If we start seeing Trey Harris getting bumped up, he's clearly a starter. Like, I can see him going above Judkins, right?
Because right now, just the vibe I'm getting from the chat, love you guys, is that Golden over Judkins right now. So it's probably close enough in a lot of people's eyes if Golden does anything in training camp.
And Golden was a first-round pick. You have to respect that, whether you liked him or not. Like that, he's got that extra trump card going for him that those other guys don't, you know?
Yeah, and I think sometimes people in our chat, not in the chat, but sometimes in the people in the comments aren't very smart because they don't know when I'm being hyperbolic on purpose. I said repeatedly I would not take Scatterby over Golden because Golden is a first-round wide receiver, and it doesn't matter if I think he's good. The NFL does, and he's a first-round NFL wide receiver, so the chances are that he's better than I think anyway. But all that being said, Golden probably over Judkins right now in a lot of people's eyes, not everyone's. I think Trey Harris could get there. Jaden Higgins could get there. If Luther Burden could ever practice, maybe, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
So we'll be conservative and say 4 receivers could potentially get there. Could be more, but we clearly have 3. And let's just say if you count Golden, there's 1 more. So that's 9 players. Clearly, You already have Cam Ward over him. I think I would take Jackson Dart very easily over Judkins just because I have the potential of a first-round quarterback with upward momentum. Even if he's not the starter, that feels like a better use of my first-round rookie pick today than taking on Judkins. You agree? Whether you like him or not, taking Jackson Dart over Judkins is a good bet if you're doing that today. Okay.
I mean,
so
and they're
players.
They're roughly in the same range. Yeah, but dude, they were roughly in the same range. No, you're just automatically putting these guys. All right, so Judkins is a 4th round pick, guys. So
no, we're going through it. We have 11 players thus far. In a 175, are you taking Warren or Loveland over Judkins?
Warren. I'll do Warren.
Okay. So Judkins is effectively now a 2nd round pick.
No, he's not effectively that. I'm saying you could trade him for that.
The math is there, Shane.
No, the math is not there.
Are you saying there's 13 players in this class worth a future first?
That's a different argument. That's also a different argument.
Okay.
Just because you draft a player in the 1st round of your rookie draft doesn't mean that you actually even think they're worth a first.
Okay.
Or a future first.
And I like this comment from Sean because I've always been very anti-tight end. You know what I mean? It's going to take a lot for me to say, okay, I'm in a 175 start 1. I'm putting any of the tight ends over, but that's more of just a positional approach with my roster versus these guys as prospects. We know in leagues there's going to be one of those tight ends that's getting drafted in the 1st round, pretty much every draft, if not both. So,
I love how I said players that could get above Judkins, and you just took that and said, no, they're above Judkins now.
Well, we've already named at least 3 receivers, 5 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and a tight end. So it's I'd already put him at least at the 112. And that's depending on the league. He could go as far down as the 202.
I'd be interested to see. Yeah, if anyone's got rookie drafts that haven't happened yet or happening after the Judkins news, I'd love to see where he goes in those drafts.
So here's some Judkins deals, and this is going to be very interesting for you to react to a few of these because I don't know if you've looked them up, but straight up, Judkins or Christian McCaffrey?
Judkins.
Okay, Judkins or Alvin Kamara. I assume it's the same thing. Judkins.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll throw those out because those are just not probably the type of deal you're looking to do.
Right.
Judkins for this is a funny one. Cam Scattaboo and Bayshul Tootin. You get that 2-for-1 special. That would be like trading the 203 and the 207 for the 112.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So you're not doing that? Okay.
Hey, check out the make sure you check out the shorts on the channel. I got to talk to Bayshul Tootin. I pronounced his name correctly at that point.
Thank you to me going, Shane.
Yeah.
Here's how you pronounce his name. It's Bayshul.
Bayshul. Yeah. I like Bayshul. He seems like a really cool kid, and that dude can blaze. I like him as a late round stab, but yeah.
So those ones are the easier ones to decipher, I think. So here's some more interesting ones. Would you liquidate? You wouldn't do this, I know, but would anyone in the chat liquidate Judkins right now in a start 12 for a future 2nd, future 3rd, and a future 4th?
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Not doing that? Okay. Judkins and a 2nd for Caleb Johnson. That just happened 2 days ago. So right there, that is already telling you there are people that are looking at Judkins going, man, how do I get out of him for one of these other rookies that doesn't have a charge lingering over him?
I got you. I'm going with Judkins. I like Caleb, but look, I'll go with I understand it, right? Because I lived through the Tyreek Hill experience, right? Or I had him in every league and just got rid of him. So I was like, there's no way this dude stays in the league. He's a terrible human being, and he's going to end up getting himself arrested out of the league. I get that. I get that sentiment and that thought process. I do.
And I think this is where the level of the type of player we're talking about comes into play. I would take Judkins in a 2nd for Caleb Johnson, only because I look at that range of running backs as like I can replace that spot on my team. RB2 through RB5 on your roster, they need to be good enough to handle a workload, but they are the most replaceable range in terms of dynasty assets. You know what I mean? Like year to year, you need year to year on a roster. We're not talking about a super deep roster or a super heavy point per carry roster. We're just talking a typical start 10, start 11 PPR league. You need to have placeholders in that like RB2 to 3, 4, 5 range on your team that are getting work. But I do not care if they're old. I do not care if they are more than just year to year. And that's where I'm like, man, if I can get a free second, I'll just shift my roster to taking the bet on Judkins and I'll bank the second and you can have Caleb Johnson. Because even if he ends up being, like I said, Kenneth Walker's kind of like the gold standard of what you'd hope one of those types would become. Like that's not killing you if you don't have him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I like that deal. RJ Harvey in a third for Quinshon Judkins. So literally the opposite. Somebody that still got Harvey in a third for Judkins, and maybe they preyed on the Dobbins news, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah. Okay. Anyway. Now, I mean, I guess to the point, you know, when we were doing rookie drafts, right? What did we say? That if we could, if we could just trade back in that running back range, which was the Judkins, Caleb, RJ Harvey range, and just pick any one of them with an extra and get an extra asset, we would do it. So all these deals, you know, they make sense in that context. They do.
This is my favorite deal on here. Quinshon Judkins for a 26 first and Sean Tucker. What side do you think I like there?
They got a running back. They got a running back. They got a body.
The outs that you got if Sean Tucker has a role and you got a first still for Judkins. Yeah. I mean, that is that for me is the type of deal that I will spam out.
Yeah.
And you can insert 20 different players in Sean Tucker's role in that deal. You know what I mean? Like that type of, that's probably an RB3 on a team that's kind of lingering there might have some sort of role, like getting a first and another player just to occupy that spot is a great deal. A few others, Quinshon Judkins and a second for Chuba Hubbard and a first.
Chuba and a first.
Okay, so that is pretty much, I could put any usable running back in there for Chuba and you'd take the first, right?
Usable, sure, yes.
Well, what's the line? Because I like that type of deal. Adding Judkins and a second for a first and another running back that you go, as long as they can get me by this year, I'm getting the first.
I mean,
what's that line?
Going back to, who was it? AK, CMC.
Too high.
Okay.
Go lower.
They're higher. Okay. I don't know. Who's in Chuba's range? Chuba. B-Rob? No.
Go lower. Yeah. I mean, we're talking Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson, Isaiah Pacheco, those types, and a first for Judkins in a second. I would still do that.
Yeah, I could do Aaron Jones. I could do Brian Robinson. I don't know.
Robinson and Pacheco are the least likely of sexy running backs that could be starters on top 5 offenses. You know what I mean? And people just, they don't think they're good, so they don't like them. But I would love that deal.
Yeah, these aren't bad deals. And even Pacheco, like I know we're putting there's a lot of weight being put to how bad he looked at the end of the season last year, but he was coming back from a broken leg. So,
and we've seen nothing from the Chiefs that say they're not going to give him the same shot to be the starter that they did last year. And if he's bad, he's bad. Same with ETN. Like, I love that. I love any first. I'd go down to that range. I would have put Najee Harris in that range before this mysterious eye thing. But you could even go down as low as Tyrone Tracy, Ramondre Stevenson. You know what I mean? Somebody that I think I could get some use out of, plus the first for Judkins in the second. I'm fine doing that. And that's just it's not even an anti-Judkins take. It's just I don't feel like he's going to burn me so badly that I regret that deal. There's 2 others I wanted to ask you about.
And I get it. It's not like you're moving Genty at this. You know what I mean? It's a different conversation if it's Genty or Hampton. It is a different conversation, and I'll acknowledge that, definitely.
So here's an interesting one. You add a first to Judkins. You get back Baker Mayfield, and I'm not going to give you the second piece, but what do you think just generally you would need back with Baker Mayfield for Judkins and a first? And I know you like Baker Mayfield, but would you take Judkins and a first for Baker?
I'm sorry, wait, what was it? Judkins and a first?
You give up Baker, you get Judkins and a first. Are you accepting that?
Yes.
Okay, what would the second piece have to be?
I'm assuming I have another quarterback that I can slide in there.
No context. No context. It's a 2 for 2.
So I'm getting Judkins in the first. I'm giving up Baker, or I'm getting Baker in this
giving
scenario.
up. Well, you're getting or getting, depends on what side you want to be on. But Baker for Judkins in a first, but you're adding a second piece to Baker to get that deal done.
And it's not a pick; it's an actual player because it's probably
an actual player.
Rounder.
It's a player that I've already mentioned in the last 2 minutes, and it's not
Sean
a player.
Tucker.
No, better, but
Damn it, Chuba.
Maybe not better.
Chuba.
No, lower.
Jesus. Dude, my memory is Swiss cheese. Clearly,
He used to play in Pittsburgh, but he might now be a Pirate.
Oh, Najee. Yeah, I'm not. No, nope.
So Najee and Baker for Judkins in a first, like that. That's one of those where if you're willing to, depending on what your quarterback room looks like, I would trade pretty much any of these like QB2 types. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The Daks, the Bakers, the T-Laws, if you could get that type of package back, because I feel like you could do more with the other side, because I already see what I can do with Judkins, right? Like I could probably liquidate Judkins for one of these other pieces. So I think that's an interesting way to package these together. So that was a kind of curious what the QB room looked like for Baker there, but we don't know. And then the last one was Tua and Judkins for a quote-unquote quarterback upgrade and another player. Tua and Judkins or Brandon Ayuk and Bryce Young.
No. Judkins side by a kabillion.
Even though you hate Tua.
Yeah, but you're trying to give me Ayuk, who I was just listening to NFL Daily on the way home, and they were talking about Ayuk. San Francisco's talking about like that dude's nowhere near ready to play. I don't know what Ayuk's gonna look like when he gets back. So yeah, give me the.
Well, I guess that's why Juwan Jennings is coming back. He realizes he's the wide receiver one by default. At the same time, that's probably why he deserves more than what he's getting paid. But
he's gonna get paid after this year. After he's the only wide receiver that's healthy. Him and Jordan Watkins.
Yep. All right, so I want to talk about Rasheed Rice, and then we can take some questions before we get out of here. But Rasheed Rice, I mean, he has been the biggest faller on Underdog in the last week. I'm having to look, see how far he's actually gone, but it's been pretty significant to the point where you look up and he's just, almost a round and a half in the last week since the news that he's basically not any news. It's just there's maybe some action now on what happened with this case. Like there's actually a ruling and people anticipate a suspension. But you were very vocal last year, Shane, about regretting a lot of those Rasheed Rice trades. Not even for what you got. I think some of the deals you regretted, some of the deals weren't as bad. But I know I definitely regretted trading a few of them away early, when if I would have had a Rasheed Rice or two hanging around near the trade deadline or during the playoffs, a lot more people were going, oh man, this guy's going to bounce back.
Yeah.
Just wait till he's healthy. And you missed on that opportunity cost of not having him available when there was a riper market versus trying to get the deal you wanted in week 3 when he got injured. So what's your angle now on Rasheed?
So I am looking to move him, right? But I have a threshold. Again, it's not what I did when he was injured. It's not like he needs to get off my roster at all costs, right? And then the same thing with, I was going to say same thing with Judkins, but let's move on. Anyway,
well, the receiver market is different now than it was a year ago. Like it feels like that flat range is just not as fun, right? Like the Devontae Smith, the Zay Flowers, that range isn't as fun.
Yeah.
So like, what's your threshold of what you would, or are you just not moving them if that's your best offer?
Xavier Worthy's the limit. That's the cutoff.
I think most chat. What do you think? Worthy or Rice? You had to pick in Dynasty right now. Who are you taking? Just one or the other. I'm very curious on this.
We should put posts up.
We could put polls, but we're not fancy enough.
Oh, we can. I need people to know. I don't care about the suspension. If he gets suspended, it's a 4-game suspension. Whatever. He's going to be back. You know.
That's part of the fun. We don't know what the suspension is, so you do have to guess. He says Rice, Squiz, a lot of Rice, all Rice thus far.
Yeah, so I am more concerned, and it's funny because the last guy we were talking about, and it's not funny, but the last guy we were talking about, it was a criminal issue that caused me concerns. This dude's got 5 years probation. 5 years probation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
30 days in prison, 5 years probation, and I think he could serve the 30 days anytime during that period. So obviously not going to be not during the season, but anyway.
Anyone that thinks 5 years probation isn't a big deal has never dealt with the criminal justice system in this country. That's
is that like he has to be on his P's and Q's every waking moment?
You're taking a piss test. Most time you have a probation officer for most of that time. And look, he's going to get cut a little leeway because he's a famous athlete. So it's not like they're going to be like, why weren't you in bed at 9 o'clock? Right. But dude, probation scares me. I'd be quite honest with you. I would have preferred, and I'm sure he wouldn't have, if he would have just got sentenced to 6 months jail time. I'd like him better than I do with 5 years probation.
Yeah, because he can go to jail from February to August and you don't even know, right?
Yeah, exactly. What did you do this summer? Spend it in jail. But like, you know what I mean? But it'd be over with. And of course, yeah, if he did something again when he came out, it could affect it. But it does worry me. It does.
So you made the Worthy deal? You would take Worthy over Rice?
Yeah, I made a Worthy deal. I moved Rice for Worthy straight up in the league.
Yeah, I think I'm still scarred last year from the deals I was trying to make. I was trying to get like Garrett Wilson, Drake London. Those ones were the ones that worked out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I added a second to Rice and got Puka in a third. Like those deals worked out. I don't feel as good. I think I traded him for Zay Flowers in one. I traded him for George Pickens in another. Like those deals didn't kill you.
Right.
But I think both of those receivers fit in the bucket of maybe Pickens, because we're seeing already Pickens getting pumped up in Dallas. But I think both of those receivers kind of fit into the range where they're never going to burn me so bad that I regret doing that. You know what I mean? Or I regret not having exposure to them. But that feels like kind of the line. But it feels like a lot of people that have Rice, maybe this is just my perception of seeing it in some leagues, like people aren't as excited to move him for those clear-cut wide receiver 2-3 types.
Well, I'll say this because a lot of people might have regrets from last year trading him when he got injured too. Because it does make you pause, right? It's like, wait a minute, I just did this with this guy. You know what I mean? Like I literally just did this with him.
Yeah,
do I want to do this again?
The thing is, he is a guy that over a very small period smashed. He's tied to a preeminently elite quarterback. And the Chiefs, regardless of their production the last couple of years, they still play. If you look at their pace of play, their neutral pass rate, they still play in a way that creates fantasy points. You know what I mean? Like the situation isn't changing as long as he's there with that quarterback, with that coach. Like you can't really look at last year and go, well, what if things change and it was a little bit of a fluke? Like you do know you're trading out of one of those honeypot situations that does not exist with Zay Flowers or Devontae Smith. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and with Rice, it wasn't just last year, right? It was the year before his rookie season.
Yep, end of the year.
It ramped up. Like all year, it was a steady progression, which is what you love to see, right? So literally, his career trajectory has been like this up until the knee injury when Patrick Mahomes decimated his knee, and now this thing, although that happened before it, the probation part of it is new.
Anything else from the first couple days of training camp that we didn't really cover? I know we want to talk Judkins, Rice.
No, I like to see a few days, get some like more practices in to see if there's actually any trends forming, right? Like AJ Dillon was running with the ones today at the Eagles camp. It doesn't really mean a lot to me because it's the first day. Tucker Kraft was returning kicks. Bo Melton's a cornerback, so if you have any Bo Melton on your roster, it's time to let that dream go, I think. But no, nothing super right now, right? I mean, the Chris Godwin injury is weird.
Those have been two of the big fallers. Godwin, obviously, Ayuk, obviously, those two have just been less desirable in the eyes of a lot of people. That I don't think anything that's been announced right now is a shock. You know what I mean? But once you see it actually be official, people are much less likely to go, man, I really want it. Like, you just don't see a lot of people going, let me collect some Godwin or Ayuk shares, you know?
Yeah. The thing about Godwin, though, that knee surgery is new, right? It was a knee now, not another cleanup. No one knew about that.
I think it was, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was a second surgery, like an arthroscopic procedure on similar or the same area where his injury was last year.
Yeah, I'm confused because there was a story out that
there was a second surgery. We know that.
Yeah, so there was a second surgery, either his knee or his ankle. I don't remember which because the story changed wherever they posted it. But they also said that his knee was still swelling, right? like they're still swelling in his knee. And I don't know. I'm more concerned about, I had no concerns about Godwin, literally none up until this week. And now I'm like, oof, I don't know, man. Like Ayuk, I didn't expect him to be really fantasy viable this year anyway. But Godwin, that one hurts a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to get Noah Fant. We're going to see him go to the Bengals because they need everything else except for like non-blocking tight ends. But anyway, that'll be fun.
Think about that. Gesicki.
Oh, they literally need everything, but
yeah.
They need running backs, everything on defense, more offensive linemen.
Look,
the last thing they need is a tight end that's really a receiver.
If you want to replace Trey Hendrickson, what you got to do is get another receiving tight end.
Hey, I like they're just leaning into it.
Yeah.
Literally going for 40 a game. Anyway.
Yep.
We got some questions in here, some comments I want to get to before we go because it's been a couple weeks since we've been able to hang out. Ty is currently in a river. As you can hear the smoke alarm going off in my house. You hear that?
Yeah, I'm going to text your wife and ask her if anything's on fire.
She is definitely cooking something. But anyway, Ty is currently in a river. Hopefully he doesn't drop his phone. Is Ty doing the Dynasty Deal Show from a river? Did he say?
He did not say, and he's
going to be doing. I know he's going to be trying to host the show. I just not sure if it's going to be.
He's got a
river
mic
on a beach. What?
Maybe he's got a portable mic and laptop, and maybe it will be from a canoe. He's Canadian. Canadians are different. They do things like podcasting canoes. They're different than us.
A couple other comments here. Jeffrey Jacobs put in a trade. He was in here at 2:00 today, so we're not normally doing trades on Manic and Show. That's what Dynasty Deal Show is for. But since he got in here this early, complete rebuild, Shane. Okay, sent Kyler Murray in a third for Justin Fields in a 27 first. Any qualms with this in a complete rebuild? Feels like just stacking.
It's fine.
Stacking a first, and then, what you're hoping for here is that you can then move Fields.
Yeah, you're hoping Fields pops and you can move him for a first. So
no,
I'm good with it. I get it. I get that motivation.
And Kyler is one of those guys that has limited demand, right? It's often, Shane, what do you think about Kyler? Well, I like him more than what the market does, so I'm going to have more of him. Like, I want to buy him, not sell him. So, Austin traded Trey Harris and Austin Eckler for a 27 first. That's a crayon league, right? You need a first for Trey Harris and Austin Eckler is the sweetener.
Look, Trey Harris was a second-round rookie draft pick. You add Eckler to it. I just gave you 2 starters. You gave me 27 first. Maybe
starters.
Hey, they're starters, man. They're starters you're sticking in your lineup. So give me that first. But I like the first side.
And sometimes these types of deals, these are things that, as life stuff comes up and as you have a ton of leagues, like these are the types of offers that no one is probably just randomly sending you every day. But I bet you if you just went through and had the discipline to send, and these offers are going to look gross, you know what I mean? They're going to be you throwing just shit at a wall and seeing if you can get picks from people. But if you sent out 100 of these, I bet you get 1 or 2.
That's what you know what I mean? To do, man. That's what you're supposed to do.
But they got to look like this, right? Where they're just, I'm sending 3 things. They're things I'm not really sure what to do with or how to value them. See what I can get done. So. We already looked at, we didn't look at this one. You guys might hate my recent moves in a heavy tight end premium league. I sent Ladd for Devontae Smith, Hawkinson in a second. Ooh. Then flipped Smitty for Godwin and Burden. So sent Ladd for Hawkinson, Godwin, Burden, and a second. You like that, Shane? We don't know the number of starters, but let's assume 11.
Oh, well, it's tight end heavy premium league. Yeah, I don't mind
175, let's call it.
If we would have stopped there, I like it. We're good.
You like Smitty and Hawk in a 2 for Ladd?
That's fair. Yeah.
You don't like Smitty for Burden and Godwin?
I do not like that. No. And that's even before the Godwin news this week or the last 2 days. I would have taken Smitty over him. So I liked it if you would have just stopped there.
He did give the format. He did say it is a let's see, ladder PPR, so like tiered PPR, 0.5 first down bonus, tight end 6 and 7 is about the same as wide receiver. So he likes Ladd, but I think maybe Hawkinson is a little closer to Ladd than the market would probably say. So it's really that second part of the deal that you had the issue with, not necessarily Ladd for Smitty and
no, it was literally moving Smitty for Godwin and Bird.
Tearing down again, basically, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We did get a super chat. I didn't want to not get to the super chat here from SG3. Superflex start 11 rebuild. Traded a 26 first and Trey Harris and Jacoby Myers for Tet McMillan. Start 11.
Start 11 roster to rebuild. He says trade as if it has not happened yet. That's how I'm taking that.
Well, there is a question mark. So if we're going on correct punctuation, it was trade and not traded. And then there is a question mark at the end. So yes, I would read that as it is a pending question, not I did it. Tell me what you think.
I think I hold on to the 26 first side. I like Ted a lot, though.
Ooh, got old Cody Smith in their package.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like Ted a lot, man. It's just when you're in a rebuild like this, do I want to?
Well, doesn't Jacoby Myers feel like the higher end of the guys we were talking about earlier, where like he's all production? You have to have a spot on your team to have him, to use him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can see the right roster where you would say this deal doesn't hurt me from a 2025 contending standpoint. And I still banked to first. And I still gave myself another out with Trey Harris as a guy that could easily in 3 weeks, people be going, man, I would consider maybe giving up a late first for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can see the path to this deal. It just can't be one of those teams where you're like, man, now Jacoby Myers is my wide receiver 8 and I'm not even starting him. Like you have to have a plan if you do a deal like this. That's why every deal can't just be a 3-for-1. But there are certain roster constructions where you go, I'm looking for a 3-for-1. That includes, this is 3 different kind of bets, Shane. You're getting a first, you're parking that value, right? You're getting Jacoby Myers, hopefully top 30, top 40 production, maybe. And then you're getting Trey Harris, who is the wild card piece that could be worth double what he is today in 2 months. So I like the design, but you just have to have the right roster around it to make that deal on every single TET or equivalent type player share. It's all for the comments we had saved. Anything you want to close it out with? It's been a little while since we've had to really chop it up like this, so I'm glad to be back on the mic.
The correct pronunciation is Amadeus Zucchini.
Okay.
And Keegan says, Shane, who is Jerome Sampson again? So if you didn't see the Dynasty Deal Show,
let's end it with that. Dylan Sampson, Jerome Ford. Both are the 2 highest risers on Underdog. Where are you at on the difference between the 2? Because I think Jerome Ford is seen as kind of an afterthought, but now he has found opportunity. Dylan Sampson is a rookie, but he was still a 4th-round pick that's eventually going to be behind Judkins. So how are you playing those 2? Let's assume they say Judkins never is signing anytime soon, goes on the commissioner exempt list. Because if that happens, we're probably not seeing him for a while. You know what I mean?
It's going to be a minute, yeah.
So how you playing the Ford versus Sampson in terms of what they occupy on your roster? Because they're different, but right now they're kind of being viewed as the de facto going to get some of the work in Cleveland role. How you playing that?
I like Sampson so much. I did at least before he was drafted in the 4th round. And if you haven't looked, 4th round running backs aren't any better than 5th, 6th, or 7th round running backs.
Drew says it's Pierre Strong. Is it Pierre Strong?
Dude,
I
lived the Pierre Strong dream for a couple years. I'm not going back there. Jerome Ford's a guy that's done it before. So he's the guy that, look, Sampson was always going to be the lightning to Judkins' thunder. I don't think anything changes on that front if it's Jerome Ford instead.
So Sampson for Ford in a second. It's Ford in a second easy?
By about $1 billion.
Even if Judkins is ruled basically cooked for the season, it's still Ford in a second?
Yeah.
Ford in a third.
I'll still take Ford in a third.
Okay, so that right there, that exercise, Ford in a 4th.
Ford in the 4th.
So right there, that exercise shows there's no difference between Ford and Sampson. It's whichever one gets opportunity, right? That's it.
Yeah, and we've seen Ford do it, right? I mean, it's not sexy, but he's produced.
Ford was way better than Nick Chubb last year, and people are still not drafting Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb is one of the he's up 5 picks on Underdog in the last 3 days because apparently Joe Mixon is not healthy. And Nick Chubb's people think he's going to start. So anyway. All right. Well, that is it. We will be back for Dynasty Deal Show on Friday. Saturday night, Brandon is back with the Mailbag Show. If you haven't tuned into the Mailbag Show on Saturdays, it has been pleasant to see Brandon grow in his own as a host.
Yes.
And so tune in for that. And then to be determined on Sunday for Destination Chill. But definitely Dynasty Deal Show and all the other content. Mitch and John been holding it down. Shane's been holding it down while I was out for a couple weeks. Hopefully things in my life calm down a little bit over the next couple weeks, because I'm excited to really dive back into some rosters. And maybe we'll do some, what's a good title, Shane, for over the next couple weeks, we go through our teams and we kind of like rapid fire, like rapid rosters or something like that, where we just go through and start acting on what's happening this week or what's happening in the news with a lot of the ideas that we got tonight.
Microwaving rosters.
Okay, it definitely does not rhyme. Something with rapid rosters. I just don't know what the word is that will tie that together. But I'm kind of interested in going through some of my teams so people can actually see what this looks like in real time, because that's what we're getting questions on for the most part inside the Discord. So join at ddfantasyfootball.com if you're not already in there. And be there Friday night, 9:00 for Dynasty Deal Show. If you want your trades answered, become a member, join. There's a link in the description, and we'll open the stream early on Friday. So that's where we hit as many trades as we can get to. So thank you. Have a good evening, Shane. Good night. Talk to everybody soon.
Goodbye.